Welcome to the Charleston Real Estate Connection Podcast, connecting and reconnecting you with all things Charleston. I am your host, Nia Joy, your Golden Realtor, licensed in the state of South Carolina. Welcome to the show. Yes. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 16th episode of the Charleston Real Estate Connection Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us on this special edition podcast. We are in some unique times, so therefore I wanted to bring two unique and amazing individuals. They are actually educators, and I'd like them to introduce themselves to you right now.
Hey everybody, my name is Pricilla, and I am an assistant principal at Sand Hill Elementary School.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sakinah, and I am a high school English teacher in North Carolina at Rowan County Early College.
Thank you, ladies, for joining me. I am so excited to speak with you. How are you doing?
We're excited to be here.
All right. So, on all of the podcasts, we ask all of our guests, what is their connection to Charleston? So, Pricilla, since you introduced yourself first, we would love to hear, what is your connection to Charleston?
Well, I am originally from Sumter, South Carolina, and I attended Charleston Southern University starting in 2002, graduated in 2006. My mom and my dad said, come back home, you'll get a job. And I was like, no, I'm good. There's nothing to do in Sumter. So I ended up staying in Charleston. I taught second grade for 9 years at the same school, and then got promoted to instructional technology specialist. So I became kind of like a teacher coach with integrating technology. Got my admin degree from the Citadel, and was able to become an assistant principal a couple years ago. So I just loved Charleston and decided that I was going to stay and I wasn't going back home.
Okay. Well, as all of my guests, once you've been here longer than your hometown, I just give you golden keys and then you just become a Charlestonian.
Thank you.
There we go.
That's what I do. We're working on some stuff for that. So welcome again and thank you.
Yeah, girl.
Sakinah?
Yes, and I am from downtown Charleston, born and raised there, on mostly the west side of Charleston, right? I was born at MUSC. I went to all Charleston schools. I even went to school on James Island. I went to college in North Carolina, and so that's where I started my educational experiences in the community. I started in the 11th grade at Burke High School, which is my alma mater. I graduated in 2000. And like many schools around the nation, there was a teacher cadet program. And the one at Burke High School was facilitated by our chorus teacher, Miss Vivian Jones. And we worked through the Citadel to get teacher cadet certification. And so I was able to teach my first, classroom lesson to students in the community in the 11th grade.
Oh,
and
wow.
I've been in love ever since. Yes. So I went to St. Aug in Raleigh. And I graduated. Yes. That's where Nia and I went to school together.
I was just waiting to hear you say it. That's all.
And I graduated there in 2004, and I started teaching in September of that same year in Eastern North Carolina. And then I moved here to the Piedmont, and I've been teaching in Salisbury for about 15 years. Yes, so, and still teaching and loving it. So hopefully I'll continue on this path.
No, it's fine. Keith is just saying hello. You just made it to the 16th episode of the podcast. Yeah, you're welcome. That was a surprise guest. Hope you enjoyed that. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Sorry for interruption, Sakinah.
No, that's it. It's just me. I'm in here.
Yeah. This is a time where people just kind of do things like that. You just never know what you're gonna get.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you guys both have unique backgrounds, and I mean that's why I love that you're both on. Pricilla, you're in elementary education. Sakinah, you're actually in high school or early college education. So that is some really good perspectives. I look forward to, having a discussion with you. Today's topic, we're really just diving into your perspectives as educators and this thing called, I don't even know, what do we call this? What do we call this time where our parents are working with the kids with, like, I'm working with my child on a packet and I'm giving them the lessons that you guys have provided. What do we call that?
Yeah, sure. So, and there might be two terms that you hear at your schools: distance learning and blended learning. Okay. So distance learning is that idea that you can learn outside of the classroom. And so a lot of your virtual classes are structured in a distance learning platform. And a lot of students in college benefit from distance learning as well. So the teacher structures the class, they determine what happened with the lesson plans, the content, and even the pacing. And then it's just the student and parents' liberties to just kind of adhere to deadlines and competency and things of that sort. And then blended learning is one of our catchphrases in education. I think Pricilla would nod in on this one also, but it's the opportunity where your students can learn through traditional measures, but also with independent of teachers and parents using technology. So that technology being a huge part of your educational experience is absolutely what we're doing right now with blended learning. So it's distance and it's blended because a lot of schools are still offering opportunities for parents to come pick up physical packets, and to still have communication in a way that is close to normal, the way we've been throughout the school year, but blended with technology.
Technology, okay. Is that how you would summarize it as well, Pricilla? Same terms?
Yeah, definitely. I know that there's not the district I'm in, but Berkeley County, they've been doing e-learning all year long. I remember I was at a conference one day and I went to Big D's to go pick up some coffee, and the lady that owns the coffee shop was telling me that they were having an e-learning day. So it was like a staff day for us, and the kids were out of school in our district, but their district, it was still an e-learning day. And so with their one-to-one program where the kids have devices that they take home, they actually assignments that they were responsible for doing and submitting. Different districts term it different things, but our district is using distance learning, but some are using e-learning as well too.
Okay, I'm glad. That's good to know, because I didn't know what to call it. I knew it wasn't the same as homeschooling. I was aware of that, and I put a post up today and asking people what they consider homeschooling their kids after this, and most people were like me, was like, I've always had an appreciation for teachers, mainly because once I became friends with one, I got to just kind of ask her questions and got to know some things. And you guys are just hard workers, and we certainly appreciate you for what you do. If you don't hear that today, you're hearing that from this parent. we appreciate you.
That's love. Thank you.
Thank you. So I know that both of you kind of have different perspectives, and we kind of had a talk earlier about, some things that you guys wanted to share and maybe share with the parents and listeners alike. And I'm sure some of your teachers will be cheering you on with some of these things that you have to share. But Pricilla, I know you were mentioning you maybe had a perspective about helping people to maybe just some words of encouragement, as well as just kind of letting us know about what you do as an administrator, as well as maybe what it's like for parents who have students that require special education.
Sure. So this is several times we've heard the phrase, we are building a plane and flying it at the same time, because this is definitely unprecedented for everyone. We did not get a degree in education so that we could, the majority of us are not online teachers. Like we haven't done this before. So it's brand new. And I think two of the words that are important to me right now are breathe and grace. I think there needs to be a lot of exhaling going on in homes of parents and homes of teachers, and a lot of grace as far as what the level of expectation is. You know, I come from a school where I have some kids who have internet access and they can do everything online. And then I have some kids who have zero, you know, internet access, or parents are using a computer for work and they're having to share that same device with kids to do their homework, their schoolwork at home. And that is, you know, all consuming. I've heard from parents who have gone out to Staples and Office Depot and they bought devices for their kids because they feel like my child is, you know, is going to be left behind if they're not keeping up with what other, you know, kids have. And so one of the things we battle as administrators and teachers all the time is equal access anyway, and making sure that there is equity across the board. And I want, you know, parents to realize that we do not have high expectations for what we expect you to be doing. You did not go to get your degree in education, you know, and we did. And we're still struggling, and we went to school for this. So I just want them to understand that we're not expecting them to produce what we would produce in 180 days inside of their home at their kitchen table. It's not going to happen. And one of the things that I think everybody has breathed a huge sigh of relief from is that, especially in South Carolina, is that Superintendent Spearman applied for a waiver for not having to take state assessments at the end of this year. And that waiver was approved approved federally. It just made everybody just kind of like, because.
Well, what does that mean exactly?
So what that means is in South Carolina, students grades 3 through 8 take the South Carolina Ready and the South Carolina Pass, and they are state high stakes assessments that kids are expected to take in math, ELA, writing, science, and social studies, depending on grade level you're in. And those scores are used to, sometimes they're used for placement in gifted and talented programs. Sometimes they're used for, you know, whether a student needs to be in an intervention program, a number of things. They also develop our state report card. You know, a lot of, you know, when you go online, you can find different rankings of schools. And kinds of things are important. I know you're a realtor. Those kinds of things are important to people who are
they are
their child to go to school. So I think we all breathe a sigh of relief, because for teachers, we've been teaching since August, but it is now April. And at this point, this would be like crunch time in the classroom. Like we would be like drilling, going over, introducing content that we hadn't had a chance to. And we're not having that opportunity to do that right now. So to have that pressure on us that if we come back in May or whenever we come back, that they're going to have to take that high stakes assessment, it was unsurmountable pressure. And when we got that notice that we weren't going to have to do it, everybody sighed relief. And so I want parents to breathe too, because there is no level of expectation for what they need to be teaching. We're supplying that for you, and we're doing the best we can with it. So just breathe. Yeah.
I know I'm one of it. My husband and I
know she made me inhale.
Yeah. Yes.
I think that's important. I mean, I see parents posting on Facebook, and I know they are super stressed. They're like, they sent home this big old packet of work, and how am I going to do all of this? And I'm still working a full-time job from home. And, you know, one of my parents actually taught with me, and she got out of the classroom and started doing virtual teaching. And she said in a virtual classroom, really the maximum amount of time that you are face-to-face with a teacher or doing instruction is about 2 to 3 hours max. And so for a parent to feel like they have to teach from 6:50 to 2:15 like a normal school day is not a normal expectation that they need to have of themselves.
What a sigh of relief, because a friend of mine, she's a veterinarian, and she posted something about that. She's like, look, So everybody knows, like, I still have to work, and I don't know how I'm going to juggle this. And you really hit on a lot of those points that she mentioned. And I know you have another point that you were going to make about the special ed families, special education families. But I wanted to pause right quick and kind of, just because you were talking about that, hear what Sakinah is going through. I mean, I'm assuming it's a lot similar, even though you're in a different state, different education system per se.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That was an excellent segue, and I'm glad you tagged me in. I'm like, yes, to everything that Pricilla was saying, because it was so well laid out.
Yes, it was.
We're in different Carolinas. We too have been approved to waive standardized tests. So standardized tests are often referred to also as high stakes exams. And that wording alone, I think, is one reason why we need to take Pricilla's advice and just breathe, because the stakes are not as high in terms of percentages and numbers that come out at the end of the year. We're all going through a pandemic that's affecting not just the health aspects of our lives in terms of physical health, but our psyche, and our faith in a lot of ways.
For sure.
And where we are worried about those logistics, it is a good time to celebrate the fact that we don't have to worry about those logistics. So again, in North Carolina, we will not be taking, we have what's called EOCs and EOGs. We also have NCFEs. So end of course, end of grade, and North Carolina final exams. We won't take any of those this year. We also have, and South Carolina may have decided to do this as well, for any graduating seniors, it's now a pass-fail as opposed to a numeric grade. So if you are a graduating senior on track to graduate, if you were passing by March 14th, if I'm not mistaken, then you've passed the course. You receive a P.
Oh my
Now
goodness.
so that does play into maybe what your GPA could have been had you gone through the last quarter and improved on that grade. But it's not, it won't go lower. So what you earn at the time of our emergency response to our health scenario is what you earn. So we're not taking anything away, right? There are always what ifs, of course, but at least this isn't a position where we are online, right? And we're still rolling out those packets, and your parents are trying to understand how to navigate working and monitoring, and your students trying to do the same thing, and you're worried as well, and so you cannot respond and do work in a way that you would have if you were in a more familiar environment.
True.
So I mean, with what we have, I think it's fair, and I think it's something that'll help even the playing field a little bit. Which is what I want to talk about maybe as a primary point, is that we have the flexibility now as parents to decide how the classroom will look and how to operate. I am a parent of 3. I love my little babies. I have enjoyed being home with them. Like, they are funny and sarcastic and mean and nice and complimentary all in one, right? I knew this before, but it's something different about being their instructor, like right here, and kind of, it's amazing how they turn off the "I'm your kid and you're my mom" interaction, and they're real life, like, "Miss Mom, I'm done with that. What you want me to do now?" And they don't do that any other time. Like, when they come home from school, they just go, "I did my homework. Can I get on the game?"
Right.
They aren't active participants in time management and work management. So I'm just kind of going back to my upbringing in Charleston and kind of what led me into education. I shared with Nia and Pricilla earlier, I always knew I wanted to teach. I love teaching. I say this all the time. Teachers saved my life. I love them. From Meminger Elementary to Rivers Middle to Burke High School, I always had a person that would just pull me in their bosom and tell me things that I needed to hear, right? And they love me, and they love me hard. They love me like I came from them.
Right.
So guess what? We can love our kids like they came from us right now. Like
Okay.
You know, right? We have that opportunity, and we can pull back when we need to. We can push a little bit more when
That's
we need
true.
to. Like, this is the time where you can offer your kid the the best education they ever had.
Okay.
As Pricilla said, we don't know what to expect because we are still kind of going through the motions to figure out what works best for a school system. So imagine that the school system is trying to figure out what works best for it, while hundreds of thousands of classrooms in each of your homes are happening, and they too are trying to figure out what's best for their school,
Right.
where they live and they are teaching.
That's
right.
True.
And so for a teacher, the preparation right now is like creating lesson plans for however many students you have. Like, I have about 60. So I have lesson plans for 60 substitutes. And I'm trying to give these lesson plans out to a substitute and hoping that they can follow it, hoping that it's clear enough, hoping that I've given the substitute all they need to actually roll out the lesson or assist that student with a particular lesson. And so there comes a level of worry for us that we're not checking all the boxes, and we want to make sure as educators, we are giving these babies all they need. So what's happening right now for me as a teacher, educator, and a homeschool educator, I'm having to forgive myself.
Right.
I'm having to celebrate myself. I'm having to relax and take time with myself because I can do what I can do. And so even if a virtual teacher is going 2 to 3 hours with the student, I don't want to invite the pressure of going 8 hours with my student.
Right.
Because it can be daunting, it can be a lot. With the kindergarten, I have kindergarten, 6th grade, and 10th grade. And the 10th grader is in my class normally. She's in my creative writing class.
Oh, wow.
And I know she loves it. I know I'm her favorite teacher. I know that the content is, it's celebratory. I know that she loves it, right? But I think she loves me more at home because I'm like, just do your work and check in and let me know later. Whereas in the classroom, I'm a little bit more, I'm a little mommy-ish in the class. So she like, Ma, come on, Ma. I'm like, I'm just checking. But, a few weeks ago, we're doing reading time with the kindergartner. And we did reading time in my bedroom, in my pajamas. Okay, I had the laptop on the side and I was communicating with students over there, but I was reading to him and he just nestled under my neck so sweet. Right. He said, Mom, you're the best teacher I ever had in my life.
Oh, wow.
Listen.
That. Pricilla and Sakinah, can y'all teach me how to get that for my kids? Because I don't know if I got the best teacher. I know
Listen, no, negotiate, meet them halfway. If they want to read on the trampoline, let them go read on the trampoline. They're reading. If the 10th grader, wants to Netflix and chill, let her Netflix and chill. Because when you look at her English assignments, there'll be something about theme. There'll be something about symbol. Just say, hey, 10th grader, I know we done with schoolwork. It's a lot. I don't really remember themes. Tell me what theme is. Okay. What's the theme that you notice in All-American? All-American is popping right now on Facebook, on Twitter, on everyone's feed.
I'm behind.
Yeah, like catch number one 10th grader, catch me up with the plot.
Okay.
But also let's continue skill development.
True.
So the best education to offer a kid is personalized education. Pricilla talked about, not wanting to create gaps that exist right now and make them even more broad than they were before by allowing equity and really intentionally setting up a system that appeals to every kid. We know that's a lofty goal, but the simple things that teachers and educators are taught is come in, releasing those biases, come in willing to be flexible. And as the parent, we can allow ourselves to do that. So we need to just give ourselves the permission to say, this kid has been in Nia's class all year.
Yeah. They
know what Nia, Nia's gonna do. Just, what would Nia do? Right? Put you a little fish on the back of your car and put, what would Nia do? Whatever Nia's gonna do, blend that.
Well, that's a nice tip. These some good tips here.
Blend it with what your kid, how your kid learns the best and what you can handle as a child. The child is still learning. they're still learning. We already talked about high stakes tests have been removed. There's a pass fail. I am not clairvoyant, and I don't want to, say anything that logistically might not happen, but I do see our nation going to the point where we're like, listen, just make sure those babies are still actively working. And we won't worry so much about whether it's a 69 or 79. We just want to know that learning is still taking place.
Well, that means a lot. That means a lot. I mean, from a perspective of a teacher, I mean, those are some really good tips and tools and whatnot. And it's something I wanted to kind of ask you about, following up to what you just said about the tips and tools and that whole thing. I know you mentioned that you're from Charleston, but I didn't even get a chance to. You did a really excellent job. You gave us all your bio and everything. Thank you. Know a little bit about where you are, Sakinah, and where you're from. I didn't even mention get to hear about Pricilla and where you're from and maybe why you became a teacher. I know, Sakinah, you mentioned you decided to become a teacher. Birth, yeah. You had the opportunity since you were in 11th grade to become a teacher, and that's awesome. That's actually rare. How you know you're calling it early. That's such a blessing to know like you want to teach. But I'm curious to know, Pricilla, like how do you decide to want to be in education? I mean, and take it to as far as the master's level.
I had a 5th grade teacher named Kyle Shugart. We just became Facebook friends the other day.
Oh wow.
She was incredible, and there were 2 things I remember about her. Number one, she made learning fun. I mean, just plain and simple. I remember the trade fair, and the trade fair she was teaching us about bartering and trading, and we had to bring in something that we were willing to barter and trade. So I knew everybody loved brownies. So I was like, listen, I'm about to rack up. So, I mean,
wait a minute. I'm not sure this is the right path to being a teacher. You sound a little more, that sounds like another career path as well, but we'll come back to it.
But business.
Right. It was all about being, she was teaching us about being strategic and how they had to be, very strategic during that time with how they, were able to barter and trade different things. Wow. And she just made it really relevant and really fun. And the other thing was she was personal. Like, she got to know us on our level, and I didn't feel judged when I was in her room. When you get to like 5th grade, you're already going through the emotions of puberty and not knowing whether you're good enough or whether you measure up or whether you're part of the cool crowd. And I never felt like she judged me or made me feel like I wasn't a cool kid. So she was awesome. And then I had another teacher who this is crazy, she used to wear bangle bracelets. Okay. And when she would write on the overhead projector with her vis-a-vis, her little bangles used to bang together. So I was like, when I grow up, I'll be a teacher. And I'm going around the board and my bangles are going to... But anyway, so it's really like their personalities are like a segue to you. Like it just resonated with you and who you are. You know what's funny? Because you sound like a cross between them both, but how you describe them. Like I know you might. She was wonderful. So that was part of the reason. But I've always loved kids. So starting from being a kid all the way to growing up, going to college. I did teacher cadets as well.
Look at you guys both did that.
I know.
Oh my, you guys are really shining examples of that program. Kudos to that.
Teacher cadets was wonderful for me. And what's the cool thing was when teacher cadet, they placed me in the 5th grade teacher's classroom to be a teacher cadet. Wow. So I got to go back to my favorite teacher's classroom and teach in front of her, which I thought was super cool.
Oh, that's
awesome. Yeah.
But I mean, I've always wanted to do something with kids, and teaching just came naturally. And my mama tried to talk me out of it like hardcore. She was like, girl, she was like, you don't want to be a doctor? And I was like, no, I don't like blood and guts. And she was like, well, you don't want to be a lawyer? You got a mouth of the South. I mean, you probably could defend anybody. And I was like, nope, I don't want to be trying to keep people out of jail. I don't want nothing to do with that. And so she was like, well, Pricilla, I'm just going to tell you, teachers don't make no money, babies. If that's what you're going to go into, you're going to really have to love it for what it is, because you ain't going to make nothing.
Thank God y'all didn't make it on that decision.
I mean,
kids would be missing out.
Really, it was not about money. And I mean, I know everybody knows at this point, teachers don't make anything, like they don't make anything worth. And I think at this point in our country, I don't think there will be a deeper appreciation for teachers than there is right now.
Yeah.
One of my teacher friends in the district, we were working on a project for grad school, and he said one of his parents reached out to him and said, man, this is a lot of homework y'all are sending. And he was like, but that's just it. Like, it's not homework. Like, when we send homework home, like, it's homework. It's maybe like 30 minutes to an hour worth of work. This is what we do all day long, like 6:50 to 2:15. This is a day. And so I think parents are realizing now it's not a babysitting service anymore. Like, we're not just keeping kids all day long and keeping them out of your hair. Like, we are hardcore drilling and teaching and loving your kids and nurturing them. And so that's what I got into it for. And now my love for kids has grown to, I know what my classroom was like, and now I want to help other educators create that same love and joy and safe space in their classroom. So I'm still teaching kids. I'm still around. I'm still reading to my kids every Sunday night. But now it's from a different perspective to prepare teachers for how to be better teachers.
Well, that's awesome. I am like really impressed by all that. I mean, the stuff that you guys both said, I mean, that is just a lot. And I really hope this resonates with parents, some of the stuff that you guys, touched on. What do you say to parents that think that y'all are just home chilling? What do y'all both say about that? Yeah. Parents like, they send us these little packets that they put together probably in like a few hours, they didn't do much. What do y'all have to say from both perspectives about that? About that? I know it's not true after talking to you guys, but I want to let everybody know what it's like for you.
I will say
go ahead.
Okay, well, I will say that my one of my people in the district said it so perfectly. He said on Sunday evening, we got a call that that the governor was going to be on TV talking to us about whether we were going to be in school or not. And from that 4:00 phone conference all the way down to the Tuesday after that conference, teachers like went into work mode, like preparing, trying to figure out what we were going to do, how we were going to provide instruction. Like, it was like crazy house.
It was ordered. It was like really ordered and organized, and you kind of had to set, what you needed to do.
Exactly. And I mean, for those first 2 days, it was nuts. Like, teachers were really trying to like work together to pull together stuff for quality stuff for kids to be doing at home, not just like work or just like, worksheets to keep them busy. Like, this is, we're trying to help them still get instruction, but get it from home without being in the classroom. The other thing is, teachers they're feeling a different kind of stress than they've ever felt before. And I know personally, I have a couple teachers who take their job they take it home with them. I know all of us do, but one teacher called me the other day and she was in tears, like emotional. And at first I thought she was emotional because she was stressed. She's also teaching. She has 2 4-year-old twin girls at home. But her stress came because she is getting ready to meet with me next week virtually for her end of the year student objective evaluation. And they have to compare the data that they got at the beginning of the year from the students to the data that they would have gotten last week when we were out of school. And she didn't get the opportunity to get that data. And so she is a very data-driven teacher. And at this point, she feels like she is not enough, like she's not doing enough to show that there has been growth from the beginning of the year until now. And, just the fact that she was crying and so emotional about the fact that she feels like she has let her kids down because she's in front of them every day. I just want parents to know that these teachers are like driving themselves crazy trying to figure out how they can still be to a child what they would be if they were in the classroom with them for 8 hours a day.
Wow, that means so much.
They don't know how to do this. This is not traditional, and it's not something that you can plan for. And I mean, I know sometimes South Carolina, we're out all the time for a doggone hurricane or it's icy, on the road, we can't go to school.
Yeah.
But those are not like traditional times, like we're out and there's no really like instruction happening. But right now, where we're expected to teach all day and not be in front of a child, it's crazy. And so these teachers are loving your kids, they're missing your kids, they are emotional, they're doing doggone drive-by parades in the neighborhood.
Yes, I've seen those. I've seen those. I know, Sakinah, you do something similar to that too on Facebook. Like you do that, and I know, Pricilla, you still read. You've always been reading to the kids, which I'm going to plug both that in there, in the show notes, so people can still do that, hopefully, and enjoy, because parents, I would love to.
And still keep up that connection. So one thing that if there are people that are maybe not advocates of education and public education especially, one thing that they might need to note is that a large percentage of us are doing a really hard time with social distancing. And because our students come from such diverse backgrounds, not just socioeconomic or racial, but also family dynamic and how love is communicated in the home, we try to create the kind of love that we think is fair and is necessary for all our kids. So immediately we're thinking, this kid's not going to get the love, for that learning opportunity that we are used to. And we're not doubting parents. We just know that on a high school level, content that you might read in To Kill a Mockingbird or The Great Gatsby or any novel that you were probably reading before you left, there needs to be an experience that happens in the classroom. When, as an English teacher, just because I'm a nerd, but like when we start books, I pass the book out. I tell everyone, look at the cover. I'm like, what images do you see? I tell them to pick up the book and smell the book and like be one with the pages and connect with all the students that were there before and the author and the setting. And and the kids are like, but then you catch them, they look at you crazy and then they go, I do low-key smell of a book though, Miss Riley, you right. And I'm like, yes, this is our book. We about to be one with these characters. You cannot do that online. You have your book.
You can't.
And I need you to read the next couple of pages.
Or ebooks, yeah.
Yeah, or ebooks. And speaking of e-learning, electronic internet, right now, I'm sure a lot of my kids are spark noting like a mug. And that's fine. That's fine. That's what you have. But we have meetings in Canvas, which is our online classroom platform. A lot of students or schools might be using Blackboard still, but we have a meeting once a week. And when we log on for the first 5 minutes or so, I'm just like, what's up? Y'all still being sarcastic? You still blowing your nose 45 times in 30 minutes and interrupting the quiet space? I'm like, tell the truth. Who's still in the bed? Who's got the phone just laying on their ear?
I bet they're honest with you.
And they're all in the chat box like, right. Look, and they'll tell you, I'm going back to sleep after this done. I'm like, that's fine. I'm glad you're here. Thank you for showing up. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for showing up. But we absolutely just and just to let you know, like, okay, so in a 60-minute course, I plan bell to bell. We don't really have bells, but I do go bell to bell. So I've got a 5-minute warm up, and then we discuss and kind of decompress, and then we go into the bulk of the instruction where I am lecturing a bit on whatever that topic is, and then there is I do, you do, right? And then let's show each other that we understand. Then there's a debriefing, and then there is an exit ticket of a sort where you pretty much tell me, I got it, I don't have that. And then we go and we do it again the next day. And throughout the week, the hope is that we're building on the concepts that I introduced on Monday or last unit or whatever, and it's progressive throughout. What teachers are facing is this beautifully complex problem where we have to be even more creative than we were before.
So what you're saying,
every day you go into the room.
Let me make sure I understand you correctly. So what you're saying is you typically plan for a 60-minute course, just kind of like how Pricilla was saying, you're still planning like you normally would plan, but you're trying to fit that into that one day. You're trying to take what you normally would do and translate it for a parent in an online setting.
Exactly.
And you weren't initially planning for that.
So what that means is it doesn't work.
Okay.
So for anyone that might be a little guarded, about their tax dollars, still paying teachers because the teachers aren't doing what they expect them to do, please understand that teachers have taken on a completely new role now. And when I was in undergrad and I learned to teach with this 5-point lesson, applied that for 15 years, did well with it, got my master's in English education, I'm nationally board certified. Like, I have gone after every opportunity I can to learn more about not just my content, but my delivery.
Wow. None
of those levels and none of those ways for education ever said, so here's the last unit, a pandemic hits, and here's how you deal with that. It's not there.
Right.
And so we have to think now, we have to scratch almost everything, go back to the drawing board and say, what can this kid do that will still offer them a valuable learning opportunity? And for a lot of classes, that means I need to give you all the content that we weren't going to cover. But, and completely honest, there are a lot of teachers that may not be thinking the same way as Pricilla and I.
Okay.
And they might be saying, well, listen, this is life. Pandemics happen.
Mm-hmm.
You need to roll with it. Because at the end of this week, you better have that packet turned in.
Yes.
Because we are still grading, and they may not be as forgiving, and that's not me. It maybe could have been me if I had a different mindset. One thing that I realized in grad school is that while I love my teachers and my education, a lot of what we were taught and the structure and how we taught was very punitive. Like, if you don't do this, you get a 0. If you don't sit right, I'm writing you up. If you don't answer this question in this time, on this standardized test, you ain't going to college.
Oh,
where
wow.
it should be more affluent. It should be an experience where you're falling forward and trying to figure out what you learned from that experience, and where you're communicating and the teacher admits, look, that was a dumb lesson. I'm not doing that again.
Right. I mean, then you have to so take on the fact that everybody doesn't learn the same way. And
they don't. And a unique thing that we're facing right now, everyone's not learning at the same hour. So even as we're on this podcast, I am answering my kids in Google Chat, because and my students are high school. So a lot of them are teaching their middle school and elementary school siblings. A lot of them are at work. Some of them are asleep. Some aren't getting up until 8 p.m. You know when they message me? 10 p.m.
Wow.
Ms. Riley, what you mean about this part? And in their minds, because they're adolescents, they don't understand that they just sent what should be a professional correspondence 10 o'clock at night.
Wow.
And so at the beginning of this, because we're 3 weeks in, at the beginning of this, I would respond, it's cool, you got it. But last week I said, hey, listen, please don't get up and stress about something 10 p.m. at night.
Right.
We want to continue that this is professional. Make sure you address me with a salutation. Make sure you reference what it is that you're referring to, and then state your question. If not, send me an email and I'll get to it another day, because I'm not thinking about these things right now, and I don't think you should. I want you to find a space and a time to decompress, because you're really not going to produce your best work at 10 o'clock at night and the deadline is at midnight. And I ended with just turn it in to me tomorrow, because I don't want you rushing to get it in at 11:59 just to do it. That's not the point of what we're doing, or not what I'm doing. Right. Let's really think about how this can be different. So it's been wearing us out. Like I
can imagine.
I teach and correspond more now than I ever have. We have constant faculty meetings.
Which takes a lot of time.
Meetings, emails, chat reminders. It's just, so all of it's multi-layered, and we are doing more now than we've done before, but with the same passion.
The same passion.
So it's making us feel like we have to do it. But if there are any educators and parents listening, you do want to still provide a good education, but not to the point where it stresses you out.
Oh, no, for sure. And that's why that was a perfect lead up to the fact that we're going to put in the show notes that you are part of a panel that's coming up. It's a part of different parts of the education system. Is that understanding? Teachers,
right? So there are 5. There'll be a panel of educators next week Thursday. We will roll out a Zoom link with that information. I'll have it to you before you publish. But we've got 3 different content area teachers, guidance counselor, administrator, high school, middle school, and elementary. And we're just going to provide an open space to discuss kind of how things are going right now. It's a safe, honest, resourceful opportunity for you to just kind of talk about what it's like now homeschooling. And we're thinking of the title being, So You Homeschooling, Huh? So, you know, just kind of all the things that come with that. And just really want to drive the message home that we need to be here for each other, parent, teacher, student alike, and just try to do our best, you know, what we have.
We definitely appreciate that. And I know we'll put that in the show notes. So I look forward to maybe even tuning in and kind of see what that's like. And I mean, that's something that'll be recorded. You guys are recorded, right? Be able to share it as well. Okay, cool. And I'm definitely gonna put in the show notes. I wanted to hop back in with Pricilla, because this is really some like in-depth perspective about you guys. I mean, this could go on for like 3 hours is my guess. Pricilla, like, I know you were, there was a couple more things I wanted to talk to you about too, to kind of overlap what Sakinah was saying. Like, she's coming from a teacher's perspective, a mother, you know, she's homeschooling her kids. And then here you are, you're an administrator. Like, what exactly are you, I mean, I know you're super busy and doing the same type of work that you were doing if your kids were there. Being that you're an administrator, my first question is, you know, what does that look like for you? And number two, can you talk a little bit about the parents who actually have have students that require special education needs?
Yeah. So as an administrator, we're definitely like in constant communication with district office personnel who is in contact with the State Department all day long, trying to navigate how that works. One of the things that administrators do a lot of is in classroom observations. And so if we weren't in school right now, we would be in classrooms, you know, assisting teachers, providing, you know, feedback to teachers about their instruction. And we're unable to do that right now because we ain't in the classroom.
Right.
So one of the things that comes up at this point in the year is end of the year evaluations, where we would be meeting with teachers who had developed a student learning objective at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
How they were going to show that their kids had met a growth target. And so at this point next week, my week is going to be consumed with meetings all day long. I'm going to be in meetings with teachers talking about what their instruction has looked like over the course of the year, where their kids started, and whether they have met growth targets. The scary thing for teachers right now is I don't know that I have all the data I need because I waited to the last possible second to give them that last bit of room they needed to grow. And so I spend a lot of time with teachers this week, helping them decompress and just kind of digress from, I know you needed that data, but I need you to provide validation for me in other ways that you have seen growth other than numbers. So those are going to be some important conversations I have this week, and just really supporting teachers has been my role. One of the other things that I do is I'm what we call an LEA in special education IEP meetings. So for parents that are listening that have children with special needs and they have been receiving services all year, we're getting to that point in the year where we have we're still having like annual reviews where we review a student's educational plan for kids who are in 5th grade and they're transitioning into middle school, or kids who are in a special needs early education class, like a PD class or those kinds of things. We're deciding what is the next best program for that child. And so those are called transition meetings. And usually we would be having those meetings face-to-face at a table with every person who's a part of that team, including the school psychologist, the child's general education teachers, the parents. If they have a parent advocate, that person is there. If they receive occupational therapy services or physical therapy services, those people are there to be able to on behalf of that child's progress.
And we're like, I'm sorry, I was going to ask you, is that like typically, this is a typical meeting you're describing, right? I mean, what is this? Is this what this like right now? Are you like on a conference call right now, doing that now?
Yeah, all of our meetings now are definitely virtual. And that was the one thing that we were waiting for state guidance was how does that work? Because these are legally binding documents that are developed to meet a child's needs if they have some kind of learning impairment or learning disability.
So how is that measured? Like if I was, how are you guys measuring this? Is it being notes are being taken or during this call? Is it recorded?
Yeah. So teachers, typically when we're sitting at the table as the LEA for the meeting, I'm the person who kind of represents the district and speaks on behalf of the district in those meetings. So I'm kind of taking notes as the meeting goes, and the case manager or the child's teachers, we call it a case manager, they are making they're informing the parent about the child's progress throughout the course of when the IEP was initiated until this point in the year. So it's usually about a year's worth of progress.
Okay.
And at that point, every person that touches that child is able to report what their progress or what their regression has been. And so the State Department recently gave us guidance that they wanted us to continue with those meetings because we're talking about a child's success based on what a special need is. And again, bringing up that word access and equity, we never want a child to be in a place just because they have a disability that they don't get what they need. And so one of the things parents,
I was gonna say, I'm sorry, speaking of kids not getting what they need, both for South Carolina and North Carolina, I've been hearing a lot on the news that, you know, schools are still providing things like lunches and some other resources that they need. This is something that's being done at both of your schools, correct?
So our district has 5 to 6 locations in the district that are kind of evenly spaced out based on attendance areas where parents can take their kids and go get food for lunch during the day.
Same for you, Sakinah?
And in our district, I'm in North Carolina. Just to get some context, I'm about 40 minutes from Charlotte, which is one of our largest districts. And there, you can see on the news where they're still providing resources for students. In my county in particular, which is Rowan County, the buses run a regular route. So if a student is a bus rider, then they come to the bus stop at a agreed upon time, and then those students just get bags. And each bag has the breakfast and lunch in it. And it does not matter if that student paid for lunch before we were released from school or not. You come, and if you are a Rowan County student, then you are eligible to receive that lunch. So there are also students who are car riders who would not be on the bus route, and they are allowed to go to the school and just go through a drive-through line, and there are essential workers that come out and pass the food, to the car. Now we'll be spring break next week. So when we come back, we will also condense the locations where pickup occurs for car riders, but the buses will still come around, hopefully. And then just kind of going back to the needs of the students, when we have our IEP meetings or our AIG and IG meetings, so exceptional education in any category, right now what a lot of parents will need to look for and understand is that maybe these documents will be emailed to your personal account, and then you have to download and sign the document. Then you send it back to the person who's running the meeting, and then they go through it, they add stuff, and they sign, and then they send it back to you. So you still want to keep up with that that electronic correspondence that normally at a table we would just slide the papers back and forth,
right?
Because there have been many a meeting. And my 6th grader right before this just tested AIG, and so for him to officially be in the program, we had our conference last week, and so we were at home in the game room, needing to talk about what his services were.
So when you say that you're with the
teacher, even switch his own.
You're with the teacher online on a phone call?
Yep.
Is that like how you guys do it?
It is. And so one of the things I want to tell parents is, I'm not sure if it's like this for your district, Sakinah, but we have to have parental consent to have a virtual meeting. And so what that looks is the case manager will reach out to the child's parent and say, hey, due to the circumstances, we are still scheduled to have your child's IEP meeting, but it's totally up to you whether you would like to have it virtually or whether you would like to wait until we resume school to have that meeting. And if a parent says, you know what, I would rather have that meeting face to face, it's totally okay, and there's no pressure at all. We'll just reschedule it for when we come back. And if we don't come back during this school year, then we will schedule it for the beginning of the next school year. And so I want parents to understand that they have that right. But there are a lot of safeguards in place if we do have a virtual meeting. We have very specific guidelines that have been given to us by the State Department as far as what can happen during a meeting. All of the team members that serve that child have to be at that meeting. We do a roll call at the beginning of that meeting so that you can hear everyone's voice and know that they're there. Each person that is a part of that IEP team speaks to the progress that the child has made during the year, and whether they have mastered goals or whether there are new goals that need to be developed, they articulate those. And the parent is asked several times during that meeting, are you clear? Do you understand? What is your feedback? One of the things that my team has done at my school is I've had them, we have some parental questions that are part of the IEP, where they provide specific input as far as what they feel like their child's strengths and needs are. What kind of assistance would they like to see? Does the child enjoy school? What is their attitude towards their learning program? And so instead of just asking those questions in the meeting, we send those to the parents ahead of time, along with the draft of the new IEP that we're proposing. So parents can kind of have, before we get on that phone call, they can kind of be in the right headspace as to what's going to be discussed during that meeting, because what we don't want to happen is that we, bomb a parent with, this kind of information and they had no clue about it from the beginning. We want to make sure that parents are very aware of their child's needs, of where their progress, what their progress is like. And, I feel like the last 3 that I've had virtually, I was a little nervous about them because, there's nothing like being face to face with a parent and seeing the expressions on their face, because body language is everything. And whether a parent is comfortable about what you're proposing or whether they're not comfortable with it. And a lot of times I'll stop the meeting and I'll be like, hold up, y'all. Mom, you good? What's your question? What you got going on?
Is that what you experienced, Sakinah? Something similar to that?
I was going to say our county, I think a lot of people that are in a position to, run and meet these meetings, same thing. So there's been that there's a blend of, this is what the state mandates, and please make sure that our students and their parents experience this particular protocol. And there's also just that humanness that we talked about before, that I've, in my experience, educators that I've worked with and that I know well, we live off of that. Like, it is like that sixth sense you need in a room and in a space to really feel out what that child needs. And a lot of what Pricilla was talking about it echoes what I'm imploring students and their parents to do right now, is take advantage of flexibility and the freedom that you have for your child and what you're experiencing right now during distance learning or e-learning. If you can opt to wait to have that conference because you're more comfortable, wait. If you want to just knock it out now. But there really is a lower pressure to meet a deadline or do a certain thing a specific way, because we're all in a space where we don't exactly know what will happen on a broader scale, but we absolutely have control of what we're going to have happen in our homes, and during that particular learning breakout session, it's on you. Like, let's grab that opportunity by the horns and say, it's only maybe 40 more days. Like, we got this.
We got this.
40 days. Noah's Ark, girl. We got the world. We good.
Oh my God.
It's your time it's your time to feel more comfortable about how you navigate what's going to happen for your kids and do so with support, because we're still supporting you. And I know you mentioned earlier there's a difference in homeschooling And what we're doing with
Yeah.
blended learning or e-learning, we still are very much so the home base. Like, we support you, we rock with you, we ride with you, we are here for you. So
Right.
if you need that help, you have it. You don't have to feel like you're, like you're in this alone. Like, we live
Yeah.
for this. This is what we signed on to do.
Sure enough. Y'all like little soldiers. That's how I feel about the nurses and the doctors and the teachers. Y'all
Yes.
just like, y'all like, listen, I mean, I'm really happy that you guys are being safe as possible because you're at home and you don't have to be as engaging with our students, because Lord knows y'all already been through a lot of colds and flus and all kind of gross sicknesses, because our kids are like coughing on y'all, the sick breath in the morning.
I was gonna joke with Pricilla earlier when she said she don't want to be a doctor because there's blood and guts. I'm like, I've had a lot of that in the class. She's like, I don't want to be a lawyer and deal with the legal part. You still kind of do.
Yeah, it's like y'all like doctors, lawyers, and yeah, that's a lot. You're right.
This is a happy median, though. Like, we can be surgical and clerical and, clergy, there's all that in one, and not have to really take it on full time. But yeah.
I mean, I know, Pricilla, you met my kids before you met me, so you were like, I mean, you just got to deal with a lot. Y'all all deal with a lot, teachers, administrators. Y'all on the front lines. Y'all always been on the front lines, and I really hope that this is like you were saying, I hope it's a starting point for the talk that we can have to say, look, if we, and this is just my personal opinion, because I serve. I mean, it just would be so nice if you guys were just elevated to that point, just with how you guys are paid and taken care of, just because you guys do so much, and it requires a lot, and we thank you. I know you left a really good inspirational message on the end, Sakinah, and I'm happy that you did that. I'm actually gonna make that a soundbite. And then Pricilla, I would like to hear, like, what did you want to leave the audience with as well? Like, from your perspective, there's something you can leave with the parents and listeners.
Yeah. I think this is a time where we all have to lean on each other. I just want to encourage parents to lean in on their teachers. Our district asked us to have an automatic reply on our email that indicated what our office hours would be. And so I think ours say from 10 to 11, we respond to emails, and from 1 to 2:30 or something like that.
Uh-huh.
I just want them to know that is what the email says. These teachers are up in front of their computers at 8 o'clock in the morning, all the way till, I know I got some responses from some teachers at 6 o'clock last night. And I just want them to know that you do not have to take this on. You do not have to carry this burden alone. We know that you are at home because you can't work. We know some of you have gotten laid off from your jobs. We know that some of you are sharing one digital device at your home. We know that some of your kids may be responding to teachers on a cell phone because that's the only device you got at the house. And we get it. And the expectation is not that you submit something that we would have to, send to the Harvard Review Board. Nobody's expecting that of you. We want you to do the best you can in the circumstances that you have. And, 2 to 3 hours max of instruction. The days have been, for the craziness that we have going on right now, the weather is spectacular.
Yes.
These kids need to be outside playing. They need to be getting fresh air. Y'all need to breathe. Take a break. If you want to take a 11 o'clock break or 12 o'clock break so you can watch Young and the Restless, and you feel bad because you've been neglecting Young and the Restless because you've been trying to be mommy teacher, listen, girl, take your 12 o'clock Young and the Restless break and drink your little cup of coffee. Tell your child to go play. Have a break.
Like you're talking to me right now.
Listen, let me preach to your soul, girl. We have at school, teachers are always implored to do brain breaks. Give your brain a time to relax and breathe. And one of the things that we have something called action-based learning instruction. And one of the statistics is that for every 5 minutes that you give for the brain to relax, you get 7 minutes of instructional time back. I know parents have heard that a child's age is relative to their attention span.
Yes.
So if you take all of those things into account, plus the child has access to all of their toys and their video games and the pantry and all
they
that
can
stuff.
think about.
That's all they can think about. They ain't paying you no attention. So 2 hours, maybe 3 hours max, and then live your best life while you away from home. Enjoy your family, enjoy your time. Don't be stressed about this work. It'll get done, and summer will be here before you know it.
Sure enough.
It will get done. We do the best we can. Sorry, I was just amening over here.
Well, I sincerely appreciate your time. I know this was like a really unique podcast that we put together, and you guys were so enthusiastic about the idea, and I really have to thank Sakinah because she really kind of planted that in my spirit to want to talk to you guys about it. And who else could I think about but Pricilla and Sakinah? So I really thank you for taking the time to be on the podcast and doing something to really help mostly parents. I mean, I think this really was helpful for us. I'm sure there'll be some teachers listening, try to put their 2 cents in the comments, which is fine, but we really appreciate your time. And it's Saturday, and look at that. Y'all just decided to talk to me. So thank you.
This was awesome. Thank you so much.
We have so many other options about where to go, but we decided to stay in tonight, chat with Nia.
That's right, girl. I put on a little lipstick for you. Put on a little eyelash.
Yo, y'all came. Listen, y'all got me thinking y'all are going somewhere right now. Like, it's like y'all all glammed up.
We came into your studio.
Came to the studio. Thank you.
Tonight.
And I'm going back in the living room to catch up on All American. So
you guys gotta be wanting to watch that now. I gotta catch up on this. I don't really watch much TV. Everything is usually recorded. I may watch the news occasionally, but I have no idea what's going on really. Other than like maybe twice a week I check in. So thank y'all for all that, all the good stuff. I really feel encouraged and inspired, and I don't feel as bad about my distance learning that I'm doing at home. So thank y'all again. I look forward to sharing this with everybody. This has been the 16th episode of the Charleston Real Estate Connection podcast. I had the opportunity of speaking with Pricilla Johnson and Sakinah Riley here. I will put all their contact information, really like social media wise, if they're okay with that, in the notes, as well as the events that they actually do. They give back all the time. Pricilla with reading to children on Sundays, and Sakinah, oh my goodness, just whatever she's doing, working out, or just even having a panel discussion. So I want to share that with y'all in the notes so y'all can check them out. And when they do their lives, I'm definitely going to share as well. So thank you guys again for joining us. Thank you.
Thanks, girl.
All right. Well, I will see you guys on the next one. Stay golden and stay safe out there. This has been another episode of the Charleston Real Estate Connection podcast. You can find us on our website at charlestonreconnection.com. That's charlestonreconnection.com.